Alright guys, today I want to talk about bracing your show lambs and some tips that'll go with that. So I'm going to cover 4 tips on that. Number 1 is trust. Trust is a big deal with lambs that I've learned more and more over the years, and I didn't take into as much account as when I first began, but then I've been taking it more and more so because I've realized how much of showing begins with trust. And so that might even be you picking out a lamb that you can trust as well. But a big part of it is with bracing. A lot of showmen get to the point where they get frustrated with their lambs, they get really upset, they start just being rough with their animal or anything like that, and that destroys that trust that animal has in you. And so always keeping your cool is the very first thing and one of the most important things that I could say. The second thing is that bracing should always be your lamb's idea. So if you take your lamb, and this is a common mistake of many showmen, is they take their lamb that head, and as they're going in to brace that lamb, they pull forward on that neck and head to get that animal to come into them to brace. And that, because we're pulling the animal towards us, their immediate reaction is to pull away. And so we have to make it their idea. One of the ways that I like to train lambs how to brace is to actually just take that head and start walking into that lamb. Remember your legs and thighs on that animal, on their chest, and just walk into that lamb, pushing that neck backwards, as if you want that lamb to back up. I actually take lambs that don't want to brace, and I just let them back up until they decide to stop, right? And so I'm pushing them backwards and letting them decide in their own mind to push into me. As soon as I feel them stop or push in towards me, I release that and I stand there and have them flex for a few minutes. So that's called a brace. We want to be their idea. The second, even a perfectly trained animal, the second I pull that head forward towards me, they pull backwards. They are trained, or their natural instinct is to for it to be their idea, right? So if we want them to brace, we push into them, they push into us, they're flexing their muscles, boom, we have a brace. Okay, it's not always that easy, obviously, but you can learn more about training your lamb to brace and a lot more tips on just that one small thing in page 25 of my sheet book. That's Show Your Way to the Top. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, then you can look at that and see, oh, I can get a little bit more information there on page 25. Now, the third thing is head control. With sheep, like I said, we're holding on to that head, we're lifting up sometimes, we're pushing back to get that brace, right? But the head control is a very small factor. A much bigger factor is having your legs against that lamb and pushing with your leg into that lamb. The neck is very small. In the very beginning, when you're training that lamb, you might even have to take that head and lift him up off the ground, just inches off the ground, and pushing back. Your body is holding them up as you push them back, but you're using that head a lot, right? And so, but as soon as that animal is trained to brace, you're not going to do that anymore. You might lift them for a second off the ground, putting them the moment they brace back on the ground, or a lot of showmen just get their body down lower on that lamb, pull up on that neck and make it stretch it out a little bit so the animal is stretched and realizes, yes, it's time to brace. And so if the judge is coming along to touch and feel whether they're flexing or not, that's when you would just, a couple animals down, you would prepare. At that moment, you would lift up and back on that neck. Remember using your legs to push into that lamb, and they get a brace and you're good. And then relaxing that head some is really going to make lambs happy, and that goes back to that trust factor we said with point number 1. And so not being over aggressive with that head control is a really important thing, especially for animals that just struggle or they have a little bit of uncomfortable headset. Just do it to get to them that cue, that reminder to brace, and then stop and kind of relax it. You can still keep it kind of tight and stretched, I guess, if the lamb, has a really sagging skin and kind of needs that help to have a good posture. But for the most part, you're going to kind of relax that and give them their head so that they feel a little bit more comfortable. You can even lift up their ear to make it look like you're pulling up on that skin, giving them a stretched posture look without making them uncomfortable by continually stretching that neck up. So that's the couple of options there. Now, the fourth thing is always keeping a leg in front of that lamb. So making sure that you have that head good and you are there, but when you're pushing them back with that neck, you always have good in front of that lamb. A lot of showmen like to put one leg in front of their lamb, one leg in front of their lamb, and one leg way off to the side, which is okay if you have good enough leg on that chest so they can push. Remember, they're pushing into your leg, not into their neck, all right? If you guys want to learn more about bracing, definitely check out my sheep book. I have information on bracing in both chapter 5 and chapter 13. The sheep book is really neat. That was one of the first books I wrote, and I split it. The first half of the book is on training that animal, mastering things like bracing and things like that. And then the second half of the book is on you as the showman and how do you take that bracing and make it look better, work better for you, and how do you look to the judge when the judge is looking. So if once, let's just say it's master showmanship and you already have a perfectly trained animal, or you've gotten to fair and your animal is perfectly trained, there's a point where you have to stop and go, what do I need to be working on? Eye contact, the way you stand, even if, there's a lot of different ways to stand, a lot of different styles and things. So that's what the book is split up to help you with. So you can learn from both chapter 5 and chapter 13 in my sheep book on bracing. And there's all kinds of information in there that I cannot possibly cover in this video. But check that out if you're interested. The book is called Show Your Way to the Top. I'm Tara Jane. Thanks for coming today. Have a great day.